Hi, welcome to the Crafty Manatee. I am back with another temperature scarf update. As you might know, I am working on a temperature scarf during 2026 instead of doing the more popular temperature blanket. I do have a playlist of all of my updates and also the original pattern so that you can follow along if you want to make a temperature scarf yourself. But today I'm going to be working a few rows and basically just yapping about my temperature scarf. Alright, the first row that I am going to work today is in green yarn, which means that the high temperature of the day was somewhere in between 75 and 79. We are starting to cool down a little bit the last few days. I have 3 rows to work and they're all in a cooler color. We did hit a big block of orange, which are these low 80s days. So we've been hitting orange pretty consistently. I am looking forward to having a little row of different colors, even though I'm pretty sure we are about to jump back into the orange. So let me go ahead and start working on green. Like I mentioned, we have been having a lot of these orange days. I am looking forward to seeing how this temperature scarf progresses. I am a little scared that we are going to have a lot of these warmer colors and not so many of the lighter, cooler colors, but I am excited to see how the scarf will look once we're done. So I'm going to just continue working this row in green. If you guys are making your own temperature scarves, I would love to see them. I would love to see how the weather in your area is making these scarves look completely different. And like I mentioned, I do have a pattern that details how to work the scarf. It's a linen stitch scarf, but in that tutorial, it shows you how to work the linen stitch and how many to chain in order to get the same width of scarf that I am working. So definitely go check out that video if you are wanting to make a temperature scarf yourself. It's never too late to start. You could back up and look at some of the data from earlier in the year if you wanted to make it for 2026, or you can just start the scarf now and work it for 365 days, and then you have a year that's not necessarily a calendar year, which I also think would be really, really fun. You could also work it for longer than a year if you want a longer scarf, or even shorter. It's just a really fun project to work on. I love seeing the daily highs at the end of the day and kind of tracking trends. And in that video, I do have different charts. So this right here is actually the moderately high or moderately hot temperatures selection. I also have, I think there's 5 different charts in total that I put in that video. It might be 6, but that is going to, I kind of adjusted it for different climates. So if you do live in a cooler climate, I kind of dropped down this temperature. I looked at all different areas and was looking at averages whenever I made these charts. And so for me, I don't get a lot of days that are below 55, but in a lot of areas you do get those days. So I kind of adjusted it down, and then on the high end, I also adjusted it up because I don't get a lot of days that are above 100. But if you live in areas like Arizona or areas that are just a lot hotter, your daily highs are going to get even above like 110. So I did kind of adjust that down so that you have ranges. So definitely go check out that video if you are wanting to make your own scarf, because I did kind of lay out different options for you. And we are reaching the end of this row, and the next row is actually also going to be in green. So I'm just going to keep that yarn here. I actually have a love-hate relationship with whenever it stays the same color, because I do really like the different color changes, and I don't love when it is like a big block of like orange and stuff and like green down here. They are kind of fun throughout, but I don't want to hit too many days that are the same color. But I also hate tucking in the yarn tails. So it has been pretty nice whenever I hit a day that is the same color as the day before. I like it for not having to tuck in yarn tails, but I do like variety in the scarf as well. I have been trying to keep on top of tucking in my yarn tails. I've been really good about it so far. I'll usually let it go maybe a week, maybe 5 days. I have let it go longer on accident without tucking in those yarn tails, but I find that about a week is pretty manageable. I can just sit down at night, one night that I'm working on the row, and just bust out tucking in all of those yarn tails. But if you wait too long, as a lot of you probably know, it will just never get tucked in because it is the worst part about crocheting by far. But I'm just continuing this green color, and I did get a few days behind, as you can see, because I'm needing to work 3 rows today instead of just the 1 for today. I do tend to get behind. Ideally, I like to sit down at the end of every day, and it's a really fun way to reflect on the day's temperature. But I do tend to get behind. And then that is also really fun that you can sit down and just work a few rows. It's a very nice mindless crochet project for sure. And it is a fun surprise figuring out what color you're going to work. It also takes the guesswork out of it, or I guess it takes the planning out of it. You don't have to plan what colors are going to look nice together because it's already decided for you by the weather. I would definitely not be making these color changes on my own if I were picking and planning the colors of the scarf. So it is really fun to see how it ends up looking without having to make any choices. So I am at the end of this row, and we are finally going to get a color change because for today we have pink. So our high was between 70 and 74. So we're definitely dropping down. My weather has been a little bit crazy here. We've had, as you can see, 3 days ago, it was in the high 80s, and now it's dropped down to the low 70s. So we are having a lot of rainy days. If you hear rain in the background or anything, that is because it's been pretty rainy here, and it is cooling things down, which I do appreciate because I'm not quite ready for all of the hot weather in the summer yet. But like I mentioned, we are cooling down. We had a lot of these orange days, which is the low 80s, and I actually do love to garden as well. And I was realizing that this is going to be a really great way for me to track the daily highs. It doesn't give me the lows, so it doesn't give me like the freeze dates. So I'm almost wondering if I should do like a daily low next year and kind of use these scarves as a gardening tool as well. Because as you can see, we have had a day all the way back in early January, because it started January 1st. That was in the low 80s. And then of course it did drop back down for a little while. This looks like about a month and a half. And then we started hitting low 80s again. And this actually kind of made me feel better because I try to grow lettuce a lot. Like almost every year I try to plant early and grow lettuce, but lettuce will start to bolt in 80-degree weather. And I'm realizing that it's not all my fault that I can't grow lettuce in these cool weather crops whenever I plant in spring, because we start hitting these 80-degree days really early. Like this is already, I think this is still February. I would have to count out the rows, but we've already hit a day that it is the high 80s. So between 85 and 89 with this yellow row. So that is going to make all of my plants bolt. And then it's going to drop back down. It just really fluctuates a lot. So it is making me feel a little bit better that I can't grow lettuce and different things like that. But it will be fun to see if maybe in the fall, if we are dropping down cooler and getting rid of some of those 80-degree days. It'll be interesting to see with this temperature scarf if I ever hit enough days, like 60 days, that aren't in the 80s, that I could grow some lettuce. The Florida, I do live in Florida. I don't think I mentioned that in this video, but the temperature fluctuation is pretty crazy. I do wish sometimes that I lived in a climate that was a little bit more stable. in at least some of those cooler temperatures. But anyway, that's just kind of a little ramble about how I am using this for gardening as well. So it is kind of fun that you can use these temperature projects like the temperature scarf to track other things in your life based off of the temperature. So it'll be really fun to go back and look at this scarf and really reflect on the daily highs. Like I said, I am kind of thinking about doing a daily lows scarf next year. That could be really fun for gardening as well. I need to see how I should change up the colors, which, speaking of the colors, I have realized that I don't love some of the colors that I've picked for the temperatures. For example, this blue, it feels like it should be colder for me for some reason. I don't know why this blue color just like screams cold. I guess because it's like just scattered throughout, and it's not even my coldest one. The purple and this light blue and the this gray color, I couldn't think of the word for gray, that all of those are lighter and cooler than this blue, and I have that set as a warmer temperature. I don't know if that makes sense, but it just doesn't feel like it should be the 65 to 69 color that I selected. I don't know why, but just as I've gone through this scarf, it just doesn't feel like it matches. Maybe it's because it's just so sporadic throughout that it feels like it's an extreme temperature when it's really not. We just haven't had a lot of days that are in that 65 to 69 range. So they're kind of sprinkled throughout, and they feel like they're more of like an extreme frost, and they're not. So that's just one change I would make for next year, is kind of planning out the colors maybe a little bit better. But you really don't know until you start working on it how you are going to like those color changes. But that's just one thing that I have noticed. Let's see, I think I have reached the end. I was talking and not counting, so I might have to go back and count that row. But we are all caught up with the temperature scarf. Like I said, I am really liking that we are starting to get a change. We're getting this cooler front come in. I hope it lasts a few more days and we get some more of these pinks. It's a really pretty color that we have just not had a lot of. I am thinking that we'll get more of it in the fall though. So again, it's been really fun working this temperature scarf. If you decide to make your own temperature scarf, please tag me on Instagram at @thecraftymanity. I would love to see them in all of the different variations. But thanks for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more crochet patterns and tutorials. Thanks for watching. Bye.